Okay, we've got a bit of a warning for anybody pregnant out there this morning. Mothers-to-be who have too much sugar in their diet may increase the risk of allergies in their children. A study by Queen Mary, University of London, found that high levels of sugar consumption during pregnancy could double the chances of a child developing allergic asthma. Well, joining me now from Central London is lead researcher of this new study, Professor Seif Shaheen. Professor Seif, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And I have to say, anybody who's pregnant, anybody who's thinking about having children, or indeed has had children and their child might have asthma, this is really worrying stuff. I know it's an early stage of the study, but what can you tell us about it so far?
Well, I will just preface what I'm going to say by emphasising that this is work in progress. And as you said in your introduction, we have found a link that may be causal, but may not be causal. I'll just put the research into context first of all. Why did we look? Well, we're facing an epidemic of asthma and allergies in the West, in countries such as the UK. The prevalence has increased dramatically in the last 50, 60 years, and we don't know why. One possible culprit is diet. And one prominent feature of the Western diet is that we consume an awful lot of sugar, and particularly free sugars. That's sugars added by manufacturers and the consumer to food and drink. The sort of sugars we find in high quantities in confectionery and cakes and biscuits and soft drinks. There are some clues out there suggesting that children who consume a lot of fizzy soft drinks may have more asthma, but no one had really looked properly at whether intake of sugar in pregnancy might be important. And there are clues that the prenatal environment may be important for the development of asthma and allergies. And in fact, some recent trials, rather exciting trials, have suggested that if you improve the nutrition of pregnant mothers, you may be able to reduce the incidence of early wheezing. So that's why we looked. And we did our analyses in a large UK birth cohort based in the Bristol area, where over 6,000 mothers and children have been followed up since the early 90s. Since the mothers were pregnant, information was collected on diet in pregnancy, and then asthma and allergies were measured in the children at the age of 7. And what we found was that the higher the intake of free sugars in pregnancy, the greater the risk of allergy in the offspring at the age of 7 as measured by skin testing, so allergy to things like dust mite. And also the greater the risk of asthma in children who are also allergic.
So when you say free sugar, so if you got sugar from say fruit, that potentially could be okay, because when you look at pregnant women, one of the things that can happen is you get incredibly tired, and you do often find yourself, even before you got pregnant and you weren't somebody who ate a lot of sugars, you can find yourself going and gearing in that direction just to give yourself that pick-me-up, the extra energy you need.
Yes, it's important to emphasise that free sugars are not the, if you like, healthy sugars that are found in whole fruits and vegetables, and obviously those foods are good in terms of health for a number of reasons. Free sugars are the sugars that are added to foods and drinks by manufacturers and consumers, but also include sugars in unsweetened fruit juices.
So you are stressing that this is a study in its early stages, as we know, but what would you say the advice would be to mothers? I mean, even if it is in the early stages, if there's anything that indicates that mothers could have control whether their child could be born with allergic asthma or develop allergic asthma, what would your advice be to them?
Well, firstly, I'll emphasise this is work in progress. The next stage for us as researchers is to try and replicate these findings in a different population. If we do that, I'll want to set up a randomised trial to see whether reducing sugar intake in pregnancy might be able to prevent asthma and allergies in the offspring, which would obviously be an exciting prospect. If you put our research findings to one side for the moment, whether or not this link turns out to be causal, there's other good health reasons to reduce sugar intake, particularly free sugars. And there's Public Health England guidance that we should be trying to consume less than 30 grams of free sugars a day. That's about 7 sugar cubes a day, and that goes for all adults, including pregnant women. And both Public Health for England and Action for Sugar, both those organisations have excellent advice on their websites for how you can try and reduce sugar intake. And in fact, they both also have developed smartphone apps which are free, which scan barcodes of foods to help you to try and choose healthier options which are lower in sugar.
Okay, Professor Seif Shaheen, I'm afraid I'm going to have to leave it there, but really good talking to you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.